The classroom door slammed against the wall just as Naomi Brooks rushed through it, her backpack slipping from one shoulder while loose papers scattered across the floor. A chorus of laughter burst across the room before she could even bend down to gather them. "Oh, Lord," one young man said, pointing with his pen. "Somebody's mama is late for class." Another student pulled out a phone. "Don't move," she whispered to her friend. "This is too funny." More laughter followed. Naomi knelt slowly, her hands shaking as she picked up each paper. She heard every word. She felt every pair of eyes on her. Still, she kept her head down. "I think she came to the wrong building. No, she must be somebody's aunt. She is way too old to be starting college. And she's too big to fit in those tiny classroom chairs." The professor finally cleared his throat. "Everyone, that's enough. Please take your seats." Naomi stood, brushed the dust from her skirt, and forced herself to smile. "I'm sorry I'm late," she said softly. "The city bus broke down." The professor nodded. "Find any empty seat." She looked around the room. Every empty chair seemed surrounded by students who suddenly dropped their bags onto the seats beside them. No one wanted her sitting nearby. Finally, she found a seat at the very back. As she lowered herself into it, someone whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I hope that chair survives." The room exploded with laughter again. Naomi looked out the window for a brief moment. She could leave. She could walk out. Nobody would stop her. Nobody would even care. Instead, she opened her notebook, picked up her pen, and began writing the first sentence from the board. She had not waited 22 years to give up on the first day. If you enjoy inspiring stories filled with courage, suspense, and unforgettable twists, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There are many more powerful stories waiting for you. The lecture continued, but Naomi barely heard it. The words from the students echoed louder than the professor's voice. Too old, too big. She had heard those words almost every day of her adult life. She heard them when she applied for jobs. She heard them when she entered clothing stores. She even heard them at family gatherings where people thought she could not hear. "You should stop dreaming. You've missed your chance. No company wants someone like you." At 42 years old, Naomi had become very good at pretending those words did not hurt. But they always did. When class ended, students rushed toward the door. One young woman bumped Naomi's shoulder on purpose. "Oh, excuse me," she said with a fake smile. "I didn't see you." Her friends laughed as they walked away. Naomi quietly packed her books. The professor approached her. "Mrs. Brooks." "Yes, sir." "I hope today's welcome doesn't discourage you." She smiled politely. "I've lived through worse. I believe you can do well here." "Thank you." She left the room before her eyes could fill with tears. Outside, the afternoon sun warmed the campus, but Naomi felt cold inside. She walked across the busy grounds while groups of students laughed together, took pictures, and talked about weekend plans. She remembered being 18. Back then, college had been her dream. Instead of entering a classroom, she had entered a factory. Her mother had become sick. Her younger brothers needed food. Dreams could wait. Bills could not. Then life became even harder. Her mother passed away. A few years later, her father followed. Marriage came. For a short time, happiness returned. Then one rainy evening, her husband never came home. A drunk driver had crossed into the wrong lane. Everything changed with one phone call. She became a widow before turning 30. Most people thought that was the end of her story. They were wrong. For more than 10 years, Naomi worked every job she could find. She cleaned hospital rooms. She washed office windows. She packed food boxes in warehouses. Some nights, she slept only 3 hours before starting another shift. Every dollar she saved went into a small metal box hidden under her bed. Inside that box was one dream: college. Not because she wanted people to clap for her. Not because she wanted a fancy title. Because she wanted her son, Daniel, to believe that dreams did not have an age limit. That evening, she reached the small apartment she shared with him. Daniel looked up from the kitchen table. "Mom, how was your first day?" Naomi forced a smile. "It was exciting." He narrowed his eyes. "What happened?" "Nothing I can't handle." He stood and hugged her tightly. "You don't have to pretend with me." She closed her eyes. They laughed. He pulled back. "Who?" "My classmates." "For what?" She looked down. "For being older." She paused. "And for being big." Daniel's face tightened. "They don't know you." "No. They don't know how hard you've worked." "No. They don't know the woman who worked 2 jobs just to pay tuition." "No. They only saw what was outside." Daniel took both of her hands. "Then make them see what's inside." A tear rolled down Naomi's cheek. I'll try. No, Daniel said firmly. You'll do it. The next morning, Naomi arrived on campus nearly an hour early. She wanted to avoid another embarrassing entrance. But as she walked toward the library, she noticed 3 students gathered around a phone. One of them laughed so hard that coffee spilled onto his shoes. Look, he shouted. She's here. Naomi slowed her steps. The phone screen showed yesterday's video. Someone had uploaded the moment she dropped her papers. Thousands of people had already watched it. The title across the screen made her heart sink. Too old. Too big. First day disaster. Before Naomi could turn away, another notification appeared beneath the video. Someone had written, "Let's see how long she lasts before she quits." Naomi stared at the screen for one silent moment. Then she lifted her chin, tightened her grip on her books, and walked straight toward the library. She did not know it yet, but that cruel little video was about to become the biggest mistake those students would ever make. Naomi did not look back. The laughter behind her grew louder as she climbed the library steps, but she refused to give those voices another second of her attention. She pushed open the heavy glass door and breathed in the quiet air. The smell of books reminded her why she had come, not to prove strangers wrong, to prove herself right. She found an empty table near the back and opened her notebook. Before she could write the date, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. "You've got this, Mom. Don't let people who don't know your story decide your future." A small smile crossed her face. "I won't," she whispered. For the next 3 hours, Naomi read every page the professor had assigned. She took careful notes, highlighted important ideas, and copied formulas until her fingers began to ache. As she packed her books, the librarian walked over. "You've been here since we opened." Naomi smiled politely. "I have a lot of catching up to do. You remind me of someone." "Who?" "My mother. She started college at 48. Naomi's eyes widened. "Really?" The librarian nodded. People laughed at her too. "What happened?" "She became the dean of a college." Naomi laughed softly. "I don't think I'll become a dean." "You don't have to. Just don't quit." "I won't." That promise was tested before the week ended. During her first group assignment, the professor divided the class into teams of 4. Naomi looked around hopefully. No one looked back. The room felt awkwardly quiet. Finally, one young man sighed. "I guess she can join us." His voice made it clear that he felt he had no choice. The others exchanged unhappy looks. After class, they gathered under a tree outside. The young man folded his arms. "My name is Trevor. I'm Naomi." A young woman spoke next. "I'm Lisa." The third student barely looked at Naomi. "I'm Ethan." Trevor cleared his throat. "Look, let's be honest." Naomi waited. "We're trying to get top grades." "So am I." Lisa forced a smile. "We just think." She hesitated. "You might slow us down." Naomi remained calm. "What makes you think that?" Trevor shrugged. "You've been out of school for years." 22 years. "Exactly." Ethan finally spoke. "We don't want our grades to suffer." Naomi nodded slowly. "I understand." Trevor seemed surprised. "You do?" "Yes." He looked relieved. "So you'll tell the professor you want another group?" "No." Trevor frowned. "I said I understand your concern. I didn't say I was leaving." Silence. Naomi looked each of them in the eye. "I'll do my share of the work." Trevor laughed. "We'll see." Over the next several days, the group communicated through email. Trevor and Lisa rarely replied to Naomi's suggestions. Ethan ignored her messages completely. Still, she kept working. She visited the library every evening after finishing her shift cleaning hospital rooms. One night, as she pushed a mop down a quiet hallway, another cleaner looked at her. "Naomi, why do you look so tired?" "I've been studying." "At your age?" Naomi smiled. "At every age." The woman shook her head. "I don't know how you do it." "Neither do I." When her shift ended at 2 in the morning, Naomi caught the last bus home. Daniel was asleep on the couch with one of her textbooks open on his lap. She gently covered him with a blanket. "You stayed up again," she whispered. His eyes slowly opened. "I wanted to quiz you. You have school tomorrow." "So do you." Naomi laughed quietly. "What chapter are we on?" Daniel sat up immediately. Chapter 3. He began asking questions. Naomi answered every one. After 20 minutes, Daniel grinned. "You know this better than I do. I've read it 6 times. You'll surprise them." "I hope so." The following Monday, each group presented its project. Trevor walked confidently to the front. Halfway through the presentation, the professor interrupted. "Interesting." Trevor smiled. "Thank you. I have one question." "Yes, sir." "Why does your conclusion disagree with the data?" Trevor froze. "It doesn't." The professor pointed toward the screen. It does. Lisa quickly flipped through her notes. Ethan looked confused. Trevor swallowed hard. Before anyone spoke again, Naomi quietly raised her hand. May I explain? Trevor looked annoyed. The professor nodded. Go ahead. Naomi walked to the front. She picked up the marker. Without rushing, she corrected one calculation after another. Then she drew a simple chart showing where Trevor had made an error. The room became silent. The professor smiled. Excellent work. Trevor stared at the board. I didn't even notice that. Naomi handed him the marker. It happens. The professor looked around the room. Class, this is why every member of a team matters. After class, Trevor caught up with Naomi. You embarrassed me. Naomi looked surprised. I corrected the math. You made me look stupid. I was trying to help. You should have let me answer. You didn't have the answer. Trevor's face turned red. You think you're smarter than us? No. Then stop acting like it. Naomi took a slow breath. I'm not competing against you. Trevor stepped closer. Maybe you should. He walked away before she could answer. From across the hallway, Lisa watched everything. Later that evening, she approached Naomi outside the parking lot. I owe you an apology. Naomi smiled gently. For what? I judged you. Most people do. I thought you wouldn't understand the work. It's all right. No, it isn't. Lisa lowered her head. My mother wanted to go back to school after raising us. What happened? My father laughed at her until she gave up. Naomi's smile faded. I'm sorry. When I saw people laughing at you, I laughed too. Naomi remained quiet. Lisa's voice shook. I think I was really laughing because I felt guilty. Naomi reached out and squeezed her shoulder. It's never too late to choose kindness. Lisa nodded. I'd like to start over. I'd like that too. Neither of them noticed the dark sedan parked across the street. Inside, a man wearing dark glasses lowered a camera. He zoomed in on Naomi's face. Click. Another picture. Click. He picked up his phone. I found her. A deep voice answered. Are you certain? Yes. The woman from the accounting list. There was a long pause. Then the voice replied calmly. Don't lose sight of her. She has no idea she's already connected to something much bigger than college. The black sedan remained across the street long after Naomi disappeared around the corner. The man behind the wheel lowered his camera and spoke into his phone again. She doesn't look dangerous. The calm voice answered. The most dangerous people rarely do. What do you want me to do? Watch her. Nothing more. And if she notices me, then you've already failed. The call ended. The man slipped the phone into his pocket and started the engine. He had followed politicians. He had followed business leaders. He had even followed famous athletes. Never had he been ordered to watch a 42-year-old plus-size college student. It made no sense, yet he never questioned orders. Across town, Naomi unlocked the apartment door with tired hands. Daniel was already making dinner. I tried something new, he said with a grin. Don't laugh if it tastes strange. Naomi smiled. I've eaten cafeteria food. I can survive anything. Daniel laughed. Sit down. As they ate, he noticed she seemed distracted. What happened today? I made someone angry. You? His name is Trevor. The same guy from your group? Naomi nodded. I corrected a mistake during our presentation. You saved the project. That's how I saw it. And how did he see it? He said I embarrassed him. Daniel shook his head. Some people don't want help. They only want applause. Naomi sighed. I don't want enemies. You didn't create one. She looked at him. He created himself. Naomi smiled. You sound older every day. I learned from the best. The next morning, she reached campus before sunrise. The library had just opened. She settled into her favorite chair near the window and spread out several accounting books. Numbers had always made sense to her. People were much harder to understand. 2 hours later, Professor Grant walked through the library. He stopped when he noticed Naomi. Mrs. Brooks. She looked up. Good morning, Professor. I had a feeling I'd find you here. I enjoy the quiet. He glanced at the stack of books. These aren't part of my class. No. What are you studying? Forensic accounting. He raised an eyebrow. That's graduate-level material. I know. Why are you reading it? Naomi shrugged gently. I've always been curious. Professor Grant smiled. Curiosity is a gift. He paused for a moment. Our department is hosting a financial case competition next month. I heard about it. I'd like you to enter. Naomi looked surprised. Me? Yes. I've only been here a few weeks. I've watched how you think. He folded his arms. You don't guess. You verify. You don't panic. You solve. Naomi lowered her eyes. I appreciate your confidence. I expect you'll make many people uncomfortable. She laughed softly. I've already started. As the professor walked away, another student stepped from behind a bookshelf. Trevor. So that's it, he said. Naomi looked confused. What? Teacher's favorite. That's not true. You've been here a month. He already wants you in competitions. He invited me. Trevor folded his arms tightly. You think you're special? No. Then stop acting like everyone should admire you. Naomi calmly packed her books. I came here to study. So did I. Good. She started walking away. Trevor called after her. You won't win. Without turning around, Naomi answered quietly. I'm not trying to beat you. I'm trying to become better than I was yesterday. Trevor stood frozen. He hated that answer even more than an insult. A week later, the entire business faculty gathered for the financial case competition. Teams received a thick envelope containing hundreds of financial records from a fictional company. They had 4 hours to identify fraud hidden inside the files. Trevor smiled confidently. This is easy. Naomi opened her folder. Within minutes, she noticed something unusual. One payment had been divided into several smaller payments. Another appeared twice under different names. Several invoices had matching numbers, but different dates. She frowned. Something feels wrong. Lisa leaned closer. What do you mean? These transactions were designed to distract us. Trevor laughed. It's a school exercise. Naomi shook her head. No. Someone built this using real fraud methods. For hours later, every team submitted their reports. Professor Grant walked onto the stage. I've reviewed every solution. He smiled. Most teams found 6 suspicious transactions. Trevor nodded proudly. We found 7. Professor Grant continued. One team found 23. The room became silent. The winning team. He opened the envelope. Identified a hidden laundering system that none of the judges expected students to discover. Trevor's smile disappeared. The winners are. He looked toward Naomi. Naomi Brooks, Lisa Carter, Ethan Ross, and Trevor Mitchell. Applause filled the room. Trevor walked to the stage without smiling. As the certificates were handed out, a representative from a respected international accounting firm approached Professor Grant. She whispered something into his ear. Professor Grant nodded. Then he called Naomi aside. There is someone who wants to meet you. Naomi looked surprised. Me? The woman extended her hand. My name is Angela Reed. Naomi shook it. I manage special investigations for Harrison Financial Group. I've heard of your company. Angela smiled. We've heard of you. Naomi blinked. I'm still a student. Exactly. Angela handed her a business card. When you graduate, call me. Naomi stared at the card. I don't understand. Angela leaned closer. The way you solved today's case. She lowered her voice. Very few professionals would have noticed what you noticed. Naomi felt her heart race. I was only following the numbers. Angela smiled. The numbers usually tell the truth. She paused. It's people who lie. That evening, while Naomi rode the bus home, she kept looking at the business card in her hand. She had dreamed about opportunities like this for years. She never imagined one would arrive before graduation. She slipped the card carefully inside her notebook. She never noticed the same black sedan quietly following the bus from a distance. Inside, the driver picked up his phone once more. She's attracting attention faster than expected. The familiar calm voice answered. Then moved to the next phase. What if she's innocent? There was a long silence. Finally, the voice replied. Innocent people disappear every day. The line went dead. The driver looked through the windshield toward Naomi as she stepped off the bus. For the first time since receiving his assignment, he almost felt sorry for her. Naomi felt a chill run down her back as she stepped off the bus. She turned around for a moment. The street was busy. Cars moved slowly through the evening traffic. People hurried home after work. Nothing looked unusual. She shook her head. You're just tired, she whispered to herself. She adjusted the strap on her backpack and continued toward the apartment building. Across the street, the black sedan remained parked with its lights off. The driver watched until Naomi disappeared inside. Only then did he pick up his phone. She's home. The familiar voice answered. Good. What now? Keep watching. For how long? Until we know whether she is simply gifted or becoming a problem. The call ended. The driver leaned back in his seat. He still did not understand why a college student mattered so much. But years of working in the shadows had taught him one lesson. Questions could get a man killed. The next morning, Naomi hurried across campus carrying a stack of accounting books. Lisa caught up with her. Wait. Naomi turned and smiled. Good morning. I've been looking for you. What happened? Lisa held up her phone. Have you checked your email? No. You should. Naomi opened the message while they walked. Her eyes widened. I don't believe this. What is it? They offered me a paid internship. Lisa laughed with excitement. I knew it. Naomi stopped walking. It starts during the summer. You have to accept. Naomi looked uncertain. I still have classes. They already know that. They said they'll work around my schedule. Lisa folded her arms. So what's the problem? Naomi looked away. I've never had an office job. So, what if I fail? Lisa smiled. The woman who solved the hardest case in the competition is afraid of paperwork. Naomi laughed softly. When you say it like that, I'm serious. Lisa reached for her hand. Don't let fear steal what you've earned. Naomi nodded. I'll accept it. The two women walked toward class, unaware that Professor Grant had heard every word. He smiled proudly. Later that afternoon, Naomi received another surprise. Professor Grant called her into his office. You wanted to see me? Please, have a seat. She sat quietly. He opened a drawer and removed a thick folder. I've been teaching for 27 years. Naomi listened carefully. I've taught thousands of students. He placed the folder on the desk. Very few remind me of why I became a teacher. Naomi looked confused. I don't understand. I've watched you. You work all night. You come to class every morning. You help your classmates, even those who don't deserve it. You never complain. Naomi smiled. There are people carrying heavier burdens than mine. Professor Grant nodded slowly. That answer tells me everything. He pushed the folder toward her. I'd like you to represent this university at the National Student Accounting Summit. Naomi stared at him. Me? Yes. There are students with higher grades. There are. There are students with more experience. There are. So why me? Professor Grant smiled. Because intelligence solves problems. He paused. Character solves impossible problems. Naomi lowered her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. She laughed. Then yes. As she left his office, Trevor was standing outside. His expression was hard. You got it. Naomi stopped. Got what? The summit. She nodded gently. I was invited. Trevor looked away. I've wanted that opportunity since my first year. I'm sorry. He laughed bitterly. Sorry. You keep saying you're not competing. But every time you walk into a room. He shook his head. I disappear. Naomi stepped closer. Trevor. What? You don't disappear. Then why does nobody notice me anymore? She answered softly. Because you're spending too much time looking at me instead of looking at yourself. Trevor clenched his jaw. You think you figured life out? No. I've simply learned that bitterness never helped me. Trevor walked away without another word. That evening, Naomi began her internship at Harrison Financial Group. The building was unlike anything she had ever seen. Glass walls, polished floors, quiet offices. She felt out of place. A receptionist smiled warmly. You must be Naomi Brooks. Yes. We've been expecting you. She was led into a conference room where Angela Reed greeted her. I'm glad you accepted. So am I. Angela handed Naomi a security badge. You'll mostly observe for now. I understand. But sometimes observation teaches more than action. Naomi nodded. The day passed quickly. She reviewed financial reports, compared invoices, verified payment records. Just before everyone prepared to leave, Angela walked over carrying another file. This one isn't part of your assignment. Naomi looked up. Then why show it to me? I'm curious. About what? I want to know what you see. Naomi opened the file. It contained records from an international charity. Millions of dollars had moved through dozens of bank accounts. At first glance, everything appeared normal. Then Naomi frowned. Something isn't right. Angela leaned forward. What did you find? Naomi pointed to several pages. These donations travel through too many companies. Angela remained silent. And these payment dates? Naomi flipped another page. They repeat in a strange pattern. Angela's eyes narrowed. What else? Naomi took a slow breath. Someone wants these transactions to look complicated. She looked up. But they're actually hiding something very simple. Angela did not speak. Naomi continued. Money is disappearing. Large amounts. And whoever designed this expected nobody to notice. Angela slowly closed the file. You found that in less than 10 minutes. Naomi looked embarrassed. Was I wrong? Angela stared at her for several long seconds. No. She lowered her voice. You're exactly right. Naomi's heartbeat quickened. What happens now? Angela glanced toward the closed conference room door before answering. Now. She hesitated. You forget this file exists. Naomi blinked. What? You heard me. But if someone is stealing? Angela interrupted her. Some questions are dangerous. Naomi's face tightened. I thought this company investigated financial crime. We do. Then why stop? Angela looked deeply troubled. Because this file has already cost 3 investigators their careers. Naomi swallowed. What are you saying? Angela's voice became almost a whisper. I'm saying that the name connected to those accounts belongs to a man powerful enough to frighten people who are never afraid. Naomi looked at the closed file. Who is he? Angela answered with only 3 quiet words. Kong Min-jae. The room fell silent. Naomi had never met the man. She had only heard whispers. A businessman to some, a legend to others, and to those who truly knew his name. One of the most feared Korean mafia bosses in the world. Naomi looked down at the file once more. For reasons she could not explain, the numbers still felt like they were telling a different story. Naomi could not stop thinking about the file. She lay awake that night looking at the ceiling while the sound of rain tapped softly against the apartment window. Daniel noticed the light still on when he came out for a glass of water. You've got class in the morning, he said. Why aren't you asleep? Naomi sat up slowly. My mind won't settle. Is it school? She hesitated. No. The internship? She nodded. I saw something today. What kind of something? I'm not sure yet. Daniel sat beside her. You look worried. I am. He waited. Naomi finally spoke. I found problems inside some financial records. That's your job, isn't it? Yes. But my supervisor told me to forget I ever saw them. Daniel frowned. Why? She didn't explain. You don't believe that? No. What do you believe? Naomi looked toward the rain. I believe people don't tell someone to stop asking questions unless they're afraid of the answers. Daniel remained quiet for a moment. Mom. Yes. You've spent your whole life running toward problems instead of away from them. I know. Just promise me one thing. What? If this becomes dangerous. He looked directly into her eyes. Walk away. Naomi smiled gently. I'll be careful. He sighed. That's not what I asked. She reached over and squeezed his hand. I'll be careful. The next morning, Naomi arrived at Harrison Financial Group earlier than everyone else. She hoped to clear her mind by reviewing ordinary case files. Instead, she found Angela already sitting in the conference room. You came early, Angela said. So did you. Angela smiled weakly. I didn't sleep much. Neither did I. Naomi sat across from her. I keep thinking about yesterday. Angela lowered her eyes. I was afraid you would. Can I ask one question? You can ask. You may not get an answer. Naomi nodded. Who is Kong Min-jae really? Angela leaned back in her chair. Officially, yes. A respected international investor. And unofficially, Angela remained silent. People say he controls one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Asia. Do you believe that? Angela answered carefully. I believe rumors often hide pieces of the truth. Naomi folded her hands. The numbers don't match those rumors. Angela looked up immediately. What do you mean? If someone was laundering money. She paused. They wouldn't leave patterns this obvious. Angela stared at her. So either Kong Min-jae suddenly became careless. She shook her head. Or someone wants investigators to find his name. Angela slowly stood. You need to stop thinking like this. Why? Because people disappear over questions like those. Naomi spoke quietly. But questions don't hurt people. No. Angela's voice became firm. The answers do. Just then the conference room door opened. A tall man wearing an expensive gray suit stepped inside. Everyone in the office immediately became silent. Angela straightened her posture. Good morning, Mr. Harrison. Naomi stood as well. The man smiled politely. So this is Naomi Brooks. Yes, sir. I've heard impressive things about you. Thank you. He extended his hand. Welcome to Harrison Financial Group. She shook it. It's an honor. He studied her face for a brief moment. I hope you're enjoying your internship. I am. Good. He smiled again. We value people who notice details. Then he walked away. Naomi watched him leave. Something about the conversation felt strange. He seems nice, she said. Angela forced a smile. Yes. But Angela looked around before answering. Trust people because they earn it. Not because they wear expensive suits. The word stayed with Naomi all day. Late that afternoon, she returned to the charity file. Only for a moment. She wanted to confirm one small detail. She opened the digital records. One transaction immediately caught her attention. She frowned. That wasn't there yesterday. She checked another page. The amount had changed. Another page. A company name had disappeared. Another page. An entire payment history was missing. Naomi whispered to herself. Someone is changing the records. Her heartbeat quickened. She quickly compared her handwritten notes from the previous day with the computer screen. They were different. Completely different. The office suddenly felt colder. Someone had altered official evidence overnight. Angela walked into the room carrying coffee. She noticed Naomi's expression. What happened? Naomi turned the monitor toward her. The records changed. Angela looked confused. They shouldn't. They did. Angela hurried closer. Her face lost all color. Oh no. You see it too? Angela nodded slowly. They've started cleaning the files. Who? Angela didn't answer. Instead, she quickly unplugged the office computer from the network. What are you doing? They'll know someone accessed these records. Naomi looked shocked. Who's watching? Angela whispered. I don't know. But someone always is. Before Naomi could respond, every computer screen inside the office suddenly went black. Employees looked around in confusion. A few seconds later, the screens lit up again. Only one sentence appeared. Unauthorized access detected. No one spoke. The message disappeared almost immediately. Phones began ringing throughout the office. Managers rushed from one room to another. Angela grabbed Naomi's arm. Come with me. They hurried into a small storage room. Angela locked the door behind them. Naomi's breathing grew faster. Tell me what's happening. Angela closed her eyes. I prayed this day would never come. What day? The day someone noticed you. Naomi felt her stomach tighten. You're scaring me. Angela looked directly at her. You should be scared. A loud knock echoed through the office. Another knock. Then another. Someone outside shouted. Corporate security. Angela didn't move. The knocking became louder. Open this door immediately. Naomi whispered. Why are they here? Angela answered with trembling lips. I don't think they're looking for me. Naomi's heart pounded. You mean? Angela nodded. They're looking for you. The doorknob slowly began to turn. The doorknob turned once. Then again. Naomi held her breath. Angela quietly raised one finger, telling her not to speak. Another hard knock shook the door. Corporate security, a voice called again. Open the door. Angela looked around the tiny storage room. There was no window, only shelves filled with old files and office supplies. She took one slow breath before unlocking the door. The door swung open. 2 security officers stood outside. A third man in a dark blue suit stood behind them with a tablet in his hand. His smile never reached his eyes. There you are, he said calmly. Angela folded her arms. Can I help you? We're investigating a network security alert. We received the same message as everyone else. The man looked past Angela toward Naomi. And you must be Miss Naomi Brooks. Naomi nodded. Yes. He smiled politely. Would you mind coming with us for a few questions? What about? Routine procedure. Naomi looked at Angela. Angela answered before Naomi could. She's an intern. We know. She has done nothing wrong. The man kept smiling. Then this won't take long. Naomi stepped forward. It's all right. Angela whispered. Be careful what you say. Naomi gave a small nod. I will. They walked through several hallways until they reached a conference room. The man closed the door behind them. Please have a seat. Naomi sat quietly. He placed the tablet on the table. My name is Victor Lane. It's nice to meet you. I wish the circumstances were better. He tapped the screen. You opened a restricted financial file yesterday. Yes. Who gave you permission? Ms. Reed. Victor made a note. What did you notice? Naomi hesitated. I'm not sure. Victor leaned forward. You solved the national accounting competition. You don't strike me as someone who is not sure. Naomi remained calm. I noticed some unusual transactions. What kind? They appeared designed to hide money. Victor watched her closely. And they didn't make sense. In what way? Naomi folded her hands. They were too obvious. For the first time, Victor stopped writing. What do you mean? If someone wanted to hide money. She spoke slowly. They wouldn't leave patterns that first-year investigators could find. Victor remained silent. So, I believe someone wanted the records to point toward one person. And who would that be? Naomi answered quietly. Kong Min-jae. Victor's eyes narrowed for the smallest moment before his smile returned. Interesting. He stood. Our conversation is over. That's all. Yes. Naomi rose from her chair. As she reached the door, Victor spoke again. Miss Brooks. She turned. Some careers end because people make mistakes. He paused. Others end because people become curious. Naomi met his eyes. I only follow facts. Victor smiled again. I hope you continue doing exactly that. His words sounded polite. His tone felt like a warning. When Naomi returned to Angela's office, Angela stood immediately. What happened? They asked questions. What kind? About the charity file. Angela closed the blinds before answering. Listen carefully. Naomi nodded. Do not discuss that file with classmates. I won't. Do not take work home. I won't. And if anyone contacts you outside this office. Angela's voice became serious. Tell me first. Naomi frowned. Has this happened before? Angela looked toward the window. 3 years ago. What happened? There was another investigator. A young man. He found irregular payments. Naomi listened carefully. He refused to stop asking questions. What happened to him? Angela's voice became quiet. He resigned. You believe that? No. Neither does anyone else. Silence filled the room. Naomi finally asked, was he killed? Angela looked down. I honestly don't know. That answer frightened Naomi more than a simple yes. Late that evening, she packed her bag and headed home. She felt exhausted. The city seemed unusually quiet. As she walked toward the bus stop, she noticed the same black sedan parked half a block away. Its engine was running. The windows were dark. She slowed her pace. The car did not move. You are imagining things, she whispered. She boarded the bus. 10 minutes later, she looked through the window. The black sedan was still behind them. Her heartbeat became faster. At the next stop, she stepped off unexpectedly. The sedan rolled past. Then, 50 yards ahead, it stopped. The brake lights glowed red. Naomi turned and walked the opposite direction. The sedan made a slow U-turn. It followed again. Now she was certain. Someone was watching her. She hurried into a crowded grocery store. The automatic doors closed behind her. She stood near the entrance pretending to examine a display of fruit. A minute later, the man from the sedan entered the store. He wore a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He picked up a shopping basket. He never bought anything. Instead, he kept looking in Naomi's direction through the reflections on the glass refrigerator doors. Naomi's hands began to shake. She quietly dialed Daniel. He answered immediately. Hi, Mom. His cheerful voice almost made her cry. Daniel, what happened? I think someone is following me. Silence. Then his voice became serious. Where are you? Jefferson Market. Stay inside. I don't want to panic. Don't leave. I'm coming. She ended the call and remained near the customer service desk. The man with the basket slowly walked toward another aisle. An elderly cashier noticed Naomi's worried face. Ma'am. Naomi forced a smile. Yes. Are you all right? I think so. You don't look all right. Naomi lowered her voice. I think someone followed me here. The cashier looked around without making it obvious. Which person? Naomi nodded toward the back of the store. The man in the blue jacket. The cashier glanced briefly. I'll call our manager. No. Naomi shook her head. I don't want trouble. The cashier smiled kindly. Sometimes asking for help keeps trouble from finding you. Before Naomi could answer, the man in the blue jacket suddenly walked out of the store. He got into the black sedan. Within seconds, the car disappeared into traffic. Daniel rushed through the entrance less than a minute later. He hugged his mother tightly. Are you okay? I think so. What did he want? I don't know. Daniel looked toward the parking lot. This isn't about college anymore. Naomi slowly nodded. No. She took a deep breath. It never was. Daniel refused to let Naomi walk home alone. They remained inside the grocery store for another 20 minutes before leaving together. Neither of them spoke much during the ride home. The silence felt heavy. When they reached the apartment, Daniel locked the door, checked every window, and pulled the curtains closed. Naomi watched him. You've never done that before. I know. You really think someone is after me? Daniel turned toward her. I don't know. He paused. But I know what I saw in your face. What did you see? Fear. Naomi sat down slowly. I haven't been this afraid since the night your father died. Daniel knelt beside her. Then promise me you'll quit that internship. She looked at him with tired eyes. If I quit now, whoever is doing this wins. I don't care who wins. I care that you're alive. Naomi gently held his hand. I've spent my whole life teaching you not to run from what is right. I also learned that no job is worth losing your life. Before Naomi could answer, her phone vibrated. Neither of them recognized the number. Daniel whispered, Don't answer. The phone stopped. Then it rang again. Naomi slowly accepted the call. Hello. A calm male voice spoke. Mrs. Brooks. Who's calling? I'm someone trying to keep you alive. Naomi's heart pounded. What do you want? Do not return to Harrison Financial Group tomorrow. Why? Because someone has decided you know too much. Naomi stood. Who are you? I can't tell you. Then why should I believe you? The caller answered quietly. Because the man following you today was never supposed to let you see him. The line went dead. Daniel looked at her. What happened? Naomi lowered the phone. He told me not to go to work tomorrow. The next morning, Naomi ignored the warning. She walked into Harrison Financial Group expecting another ordinary day. Instead, police officers filled the lobby. Employees stood in small groups whispering. Angela hurried toward her. You shouldn't have come. What happened? Angela looked around before speaking. Victor Lane is dead. Naomi froze. What? He was found in his apartment early this morning. Naomi struggled to speak. An accident? Angela slowly shook her head. No. A cold feeling settled over Naomi. Yesterday Victor had questioned her. Today he was gone. Angela quickly pulled her into an empty office. I need you to listen carefully. Naomi nodded. The investigation has been taken away from us. By who? I don't know. The charity file is gone. What do you mean gone? I mean every paper copy. Every digital copy. Everything. Naomi immediately opened her notebook. I still have my handwritten notes. Angela stared at her. You kept notes? I always keep notes. Angela let out a long breath. Thank God. Naomi reached into her bag. Her smile disappeared. My notebook. She searched again. Then again. It was here. Angela's voice became urgent. What is it? My notebook is gone. You brought it today? Yes. When did you last see it? On the bus. Naomi suddenly remembered. Someone had bumped into her while she was getting off. At the time she had thought nothing of it. Now everything made sense. Someone had stolen it. Angela quietly closed her eyes. They're staying one step ahead of us. Just then Angela's office phone rang. She answered. Yes. Her face changed. I understand. She slowly placed the phone down. What happened? Naomi asked. Angela looked directly at her. Someone is here to see you. Who? They refused to give a name. Minutes later, Naomi entered a private conference room. A single man stood beside the window. He wore a dark suit with no tie. His posture was calm. He looked to be in his early 40s. When he turned around, his expression remained unreadable. You are Naomi Brooks. His English carried a gentle Korean accent. And you are? My name is Han. What do you want? I work for Mr. Kong. Naomi's heart skipped. Kong Minjet. Han nodded once. My employer wishes to speak with you. Naomi took one step back. I have nothing to say to him. You do. I've never met him. But you've been studying him. I've been studying financial records. Han gave the smallest smile. My employer knows. Naomi folded her arms. If he wants to talk, he can come here. I'm afraid he cannot. Why not? Because there are people trying to kill him. Silence filled the room. Naomi searched Han's face for any sign of deception. She found none. I don't understand. You will. Han placed a small photograph on the table. Naomi picked it up. It showed the same black sedan that had followed her. The driver works for your boss? Han answered immediately. No. He works for the people trying to destroy my employer. Naomi looked up sharply. Then why was I being followed? Han replied. Because you discovered something they never expected. What? You questioned the evidence. Naomi slowly lowered the photograph. They wanted everyone to believe Kong Min-jae stole the money. Yes. But I didn't believe it. Exactly. Han stepped closer. Mrs. Brooks. His voice became serious. You were the first investigator who looked at those records and said, this feels wrong. Naomi whispered. So he really is being framed. Han answered carefully. My employer has made many enemies. He is not asking you to think he is a good man. He is asking you to see the truth. Naomi looked toward the window. Everything she thought she understood had changed. Han reached into his jacket and removed a small flash drive. The original financial records. Naomi stared at it. I thought they were destroyed. So did everyone else. Why give them to me? Because Mr. Kong believes only one person can prove what really happened. Naomi looked surprised. Why me? Han smiled faintly. He said something interesting. What did he say? Han answered. People laughed at her because of her age and her size. They never noticed her mind. Naomi stood speechless. If you're enjoying this story and want more powerful stories filled with courage, mystery, and unforgettable twists, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps this channel grow and brings you more stories like this. Before Naomi could speak again, Han's phone vibrated. He answered. His calm expression disappeared. What is it? Naomi asked. Han ended the call and looked directly at her. We have to leave. Why? They found us. Outside the conference room, alarms suddenly began echoing through the building. Employees started shouting. Someone yelled, everybody get out. Han grabbed the flash drive and placed it firmly into Naomi's hand. From this moment forward, he said, trust no one except the evidence. Then the lights inside the building went completely dark. Darkness swallowed the entire floor. People screamed. Office chairs crashed against desks as employees rushed toward the emergency exits. Naomi stood frozen for only a second before Han took her arm. This way. I can't even see. Stay close. Emergency lights finally flickered on, filling the hallway with a dim red glow. Smoke drifted through the air. The fire alarm continued to ring. Employees pushed past one another in panic. Naomi tightened her grip on the flash drive inside her pocket. What is happening? Han answered without slowing down. A distraction. For what? For you. They reached the stairwell just as two men in dark suits entered from below. Han immediately stopped. His voice became calm. Turn around. Naomi looked at him. They're here, aren't they? Yes. Who are they? The people who cannot allow you to read those files. Han led her up instead of down. They climbed 5 flights before reaching the roof. A helicopter circled somewhere in the distance. Naomi looked around. There is nowhere to go. Han smiled faintly. There is always somewhere to go. A maintenance elevator opened behind them. An older woman stepped out wearing a janitor's uniform. She looked at Han. You're late. Han nodded. Traffic. The woman laughed. Get inside. Naomi stared in confusion. What is this? Han answered quietly. One of Mr. Kang's safest exits. Minutes later, they emerged inside an old warehouse several miles away. A black SUV waited outside. Its rear door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, calm, simply dressed in a dark jacket. There were no expensive watches. No bodyguards standing beside him. Nothing about him demanded attention. Yet the moment he looked toward the room, everyone else became silent. Han lowered his head. Sir. The man nodded. Then his eyes settled on Naomi. You must be Mrs. Brooks. She looked back without fear. And you are Kong Min-jae. I am. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, Naomi broke the silence. People say you're one of the most feared men in Korea. Kong gave a small smile. People say many things. They also say you stole billions. They do. Naomi reached into her pocket and held up the flash drive. If these records prove you're innocent, why not release them yourself? Kong answered honestly. Because nobody would believe evidence that came from me. He looked directly into her eyes. But they will believe it from you. Naomi frowned. You barely know me. I know enough. You returned to college after 22 years. You worked nights while studying. You never cheated. You never took shortcuts. You followed facts even when people mocked you. He paused. People like you are difficult to buy. Naomi slowly nodded. So that's why you chose me. No. Kong shook his head. The evidence chose you. They immediately connected the flash drive to an isolated computer. Thousands of financial records appeared. Naomi began reading. Minutes passed. Then an hour. No one interrupted her. Finally, she leaned back. I knew it. Han stepped forward. What did you find? Naomi enlarged several payment records. The stolen money never stayed inside Mr. Kang's companies. She highlighted another page. It passed through them. She opened another file. And every transfer ended inside charities controlled by shell companies. Han looked confused. So who owns them? Naomi clicked one final document. A name appeared. She stared at it in disbelief. Harrison. The room became silent. Han whispered. The accounting firm? Naomi nodded. No. She pointed at the screen. Richard Harrison. The founder. Han looked shocked. He hired investigators to chase Mr. Kong. Exactly. Naomi continued. He controlled both sides. He created fake evidence. He changed financial records. He sacrificed employees. He even allowed people to believe Mr. Kong was responsible. Kong remained quiet. Naomi looked at him. He didn't just want your money. He wanted your reputation. Kong slowly smiled. I've been trying to prove that for 3 years. Naomi looked back at the screen. There's more. She opened another folder. The payments used identical approval codes. They appeared 6 months before the charity even existed. Han leaned closer. Meaning? Naomi smiled for the first time in days. The fraud was planned before the charity opened. She pointed toward another document. And Richard Harrison signed every authorization himself. Kong folded his arms. Can you prove it? Naomi answered firmly. Yes. Within hours, trusted investigators from several countries received copies of the original files. Independent financial experts reviewed every page. They reached the same conclusion. The evidence had been altered. The case spread across international news. Search warrants followed. Richard Harrison tried to leave the country. He was arrested before reaching the airport. Several executives confessed. Hidden bank accounts were frozen. Millions of dollars were recovered. Angela Reed was cleared of all suspicion. She called Naomi with tears in her voice. You did it. We did it. No. Angela laughed softly. You refused to ignore the truth. Weeks later, the university held its graduation ceremony. Students filled the auditorium. Families cheered from every row. When Naomi Brooks' name was called, the applause lasted longer than she expected. She crossed the stage with quiet confidence. The announcer smiled. Graduating cum laude. Daniel stood on his feet. That's my mom. His voice echoed through the hall. Naomi laughed as tears filled her eyes. She accepted her diploma and looked toward the audience. She remembered every insult, every lonely night, every bus ride, every cleaning shift, every cruel laugh. None of it had stopped her. After the ceremony, Trevor slowly walked toward her. He looked uncomfortable. I owe you an apology. Naomi smiled kindly. You don't owe me anything. I called you too old. He lowered his head. I said you were too big. I remember. I judged you before I knew you. Naomi nodded. You weren't the only one. I'm ashamed of it. Naomi gently shook his hand. I hope today teaches both of us something. Trevor looked surprised. Both of us. I learned that forgiveness is lighter to carry than anger. His eyes filled with tears. Thank you. A black car quietly pulled away from the curb across the street. Inside, Kong Min-jae watched the graduation from a distance. Han smiled. Should I tell her you came? Kong looked through the window. No. Why not? Today belongs to her. He watched Naomi laughing with Daniel. The world saw her age. They saw her size. They never saw her courage. Han nodded. And now? Kong smiled faintly. Now they cannot help but see it. The narrator's voice softened. Sometimes the loudest voices are the ones telling people what they cannot become. But those voices do not decide the future. Character does. Perseverance does. Truth does. Naomi Brooks never became extraordinary because people believed in her. She became extraordinary because she refused to stop believing in herself when nobody else did. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this story with someone who needs a reminder that it is never too late to chase a dream. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.